So what do we want to talk about tonight, guys?
Proper safety gear on a dirt bike.
Let's hear that story, by the way. So what was your plan? What were you doing?
Well, my original plan was to enjoy the dirt bike and go on many long weekend trips with a buddy of mine and do, backcountry discovery routes.
Yep.
Like we were going to do Big Bend here in Texas and then maybe some of the BDRs in New Mexico, Colorado, and try and travel around, just load them into the back of the truck. I mean, we both have dual sport motorcycles, so they're street legal motorcycles, but trying to ride that thing all the way to Big Bend or into another state, you're not doing
That'll
that.
hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'd load them into the back of the truck, bring all of our camping gear, get there, unload the bikes, and then hit the BDRs and just backpack off of the motorcycles. And I...
Was this reliving a childhood dream? Like, did you have a dirt bike growing up?
I never owned one, but
you
I rode.
You rode
plenty of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm comfortable on one, but it was that. You know what they say: once you've ridden a bike, you always know how to ride a bike.
Right.
Very similar, but you got to get comfortable with it again, right?
Right.
And what I got was it's a Sherco 500, so it's a 500cc dirt bike, which is a big dirt bike.
It's got some balls.
And it's a lightweight,
Yes.
bike. There's not
Power
a
to
lot
weight
of
ratio.
Yeah, there's not a lot of added weight to it. It's pretty much frame, motor, tires, and me.
And get up and go.
And get up and go
right now. Yeah.
It's a 4-stroke, so I mean it's not geared like a 2-stroke is.
It's torquey though.
It is very torquey.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'd been riding it and getting used to it and was comfortable on it. And I get paralysis by analysis when it comes to buying certain things. Like I will overanalyze. So I had I don't know, probably 4 or 5 helmets that were in my shopping cart from different places and like trying to figure out that's it.
He just pulled it up. That's a beautiful bike, by the way.
It is.
Yeah.
It's a fun bike. Actually, that one, if you go click back, go top row, third from the left, that is it right there.
Color and all.
Almost identical, even with the blue wheels. Yep, color and everything. That's the bike that I have.
Yeah.
And still have.
Is it for sale?
Not yet. So I been running around on it and not doing anything crazy, just getting used to it because it has a clutchless shifter in it, or recluse.
Okay.
Which I'm not used to. It's not hard to learn at all. It's actually nice because it won't stall out on you. So you can actually, if you're in second gear, you can come to a complete stop, let off the throttle, not hold in the clutch, and it will not die on you. And all you got to do is just reapply on the throttle, and you'll start going again. So it's a great option to have on it. Now you still have to use the clutch while shifting.
Gotcha.
But you can come to a stop and not worry about it dying on you on like an incline or something like that. So I was running around on it in the neighborhood, and then we have a little green belt in between our neighborhood and the Y, which has got a very short trail on it that then opens up at the Y, and you've got all those open fields like right behind the fire department. So I'd go and loop through there and just work on, because one issue that I was having was throttle control, which I'm great with on pavement, but then you get off road and you're bouncing a little bit, and your throttle control is not as good. So I was working on my throttle control, on sitting properly, being in an attack position with my elbows up. And I had finished out in the field, and I was coming back through, and the buddy that I was going to go on the BDRs with was like, hey, take some pics of that trail for me. That you said's right by your house. So I would stop, take a pic, go, stop, take a pic, go. Took a handful of pictures, and I stopped, and the last pic that I took was this straightaway, and at the end of that straightaway is a hard 90 left. So put the phone back in my pocket, and I'm in second gear, give it a little bit of gas. I'm going 8-10 miles an hour, and I either hit a rock or a root that I wasn't expecting, and it made me just blip the throttle.
Wow.
Which was just enough to push me back in the seat and make me drop my elbow, which caused me to then whiskey throttle.
Right.
And I remember the last thoughts in my head were clutch, to kill the power to the back.
Yes.
Pull yourself up so I can get my elbow up,
Right.
and then brake, right? All pretty much at once. I was trying to do. The next thing I know, I'm on the ground. And I hit, when it whiskey throttled in second gear, I hit that power band, and I instantly went to about 25, 30 miles an hour, went right off that straightaway where that hard 90 is.
Yeah.
And my face and my body met a tree.
Oh, man.
Which, without a doubt, God was looking out for me, as stupid as I was, because I did not have a helmet on. I did not have proper boots on. I had boots on, but not proper boots.
Yeah.
And my face hit that tree. And all of it was right here.
You can't even tell right now, dude.
Yeah, I've got
a little bit of a
Just that
scar,
little
no?
scar.
I've got the scar
That's
right
it.
here. There's a huge scar here and inside my mouth, shattered a tooth. But no facial fractures, no concussion. I never lost consciousness. I didn't mess up my neck, didn't mess up my back. So the fact that I hit a tree with my face going that fast, and
that's all
this
you
is
walked away
literally all the damage that
God's
that
favor,
I
bro.
got. Except when I hit that tree, and after looking at the boots and everything, it must have spun me, and it threw my foot into the back wheel. And as my foot went into the back wheel, it just snapped it.
Oh.
So it snapped the tib and the fib, and when it snapped the tib basically lacerated my calf in half.
So that's where you cut that whole muscle.
So on the ground, start to do that body check, and I grab my face and I pull my hands away, and it's just covered in blood. I'm like, all right, face bleeds a lot. I'm good. Like, check. I'm like, okay, arms good. I can breathe. I can move.
Yeah.
Look down. I was like, my legs look good. I had jeans on. And then I was laying on my side, and I went to move my left leg to start to get up, and I just felt click, 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 click.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, that's not good.
Yep.
So
your checklist came to an abrupt stop.
yeah, right there where I tried to move that leg. So I called Casey, and after she yelled at me for quit messing with me, I was like, no, babe, I'm serious. Like, I'm in a lot of pain right now. You need to get to me. So she came to me. We got 911. I could literally hear the fire truck.
Oh, leaving because the station
leaving
is,
off of 967 to 1626 down and into the neighborhood.
as a crow flies, it's closer.
And then they came out there, and they were awesome. They came straight to me, immediately put, a PICC line in, and hit me with fentanyl, which just, killed the pain.
Yeah.
Which was nice, but it's got a short half-life. So as they were loading me onto a stretcher, they hit me with ketamine, because they had to roll me. I was probably about 100 yards off of flat ground. So they had to roll me, boom, 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 bouncing. So they hit me with the ketamine. Now, the ketamine, that sent me to a different planet. Load me into the back of the ambulance, and then the ambulance will usually do their checks and everything. So you sit there for 15, 20 minutes before they actually leave with you. And then they hit me with that ketamine again. And I remember the guy that was in the back with me telling me, all right, I'm going to hit you with the ketamine one more time. Think happy thoughts. You don't want a bad trip. And he hit me with that ketamine, and it launched me into outer space, dude.
Wow.
I was hallucinating, like as happy could be. I don't remember that night at the hospital.
Probably good.
Which is very good. According to Casey, who was there with me the whole time, it was very good. I don't remember that. And then I had surgery the next morning at like 6:30, 7 o'clock. But she said, she was like, you were in agonizing pain all night. And I was like, I don't remember any of it. She goes, you were screaming.
Thank God you
Give me more ketamine.
That's a Jonathan you don't ever get to see.
Next thing you know, he's homeless and living on the streets.
Right. Living on the streets. So, yeah, it was a tough recovery. I'm 8 weeks out now. I'm walking on it. But I had to spend 3 or 4 weeks laid up on the couch with my foot elevated, which was not something that I do well. I think
Not
I
an
found-
Action Jackson like you.
No, I think I found the end of the internet, and I think I watched every movie and TV show episode.
He was so
on
bored.
Paramount
I would
Plus.
post a reel from one of the podcasts, and he would correct my spelling real quick, like before I could even have a chance to.
Did I
notice it was
really?
gone.
I don't even remember that.
He sent me one. He sent me one with a spelling correction. I was like, "Oh, you caught it before I did. You must be bored." He's like, "Totally bored."
Oh, and high. Like, I don't even remember that.
Yeah, it was probably the third weekend.
So this happened right around Christmas Eve.
23rd.
Right? So, yes.
23rd of December, spent 5 days in the hospital over Christmas break.
Yeah, because you were supposed to go to Louisiana.
We were.
a couple days after that.
Yep.
Right.
Never happened.
The 2 days later, I was supposed to pack up and head to Louisiana with the family. But, yeah. And Casey
That's where we had our
never...
whole gumbo conversation.
Yeah. Casey never... was mad. As a matter of fact, so my buddy Brian Black, that we were going to go do the BDR. Y'all know Brian Black.
I know Brian. Yeah.
Yeah, you know Brian?
I'm sure I've met
Okay.
him before. The name does not ring a bell with me, but I'm
Yeah,
sure
he's
I've
my
met him.
partner at work.
Yeah, I'm sure I've seen him.
She called him to come and get the bike. Like,
Yeah.
hey, the bike's on the trail. Come get it and bring
get
it to the house.
Yeah.
Gray will help you. And he
Yeah.
actually showed up while she was still, he immediately, he was like, I dropped whatever I was doing, came right, because he
course
lives
he did.
over in like Garlic Creek area.
So he's close by.
Close by. So he came over there and like walked up real hesitantly towards Casey and was like, you're pissed at me, aren't you? And she was like, no, I'm not mad at you. And she is still hadn't asked me when I'm going to sell it, but everybody else has. And my answer is, I have to have a victory lap on that thing before I can sell
That's
it.
true.
I
You gotta
cannot
get back
let
on that
my
horse.
last
We get
ride.
it. We get it, bro.
I can't let my last ride be this,
That
the leg
yeah.
and the face. So
Hey, dude, Casey is awesome,
Preparing
man.
time.
No, she is.
Just, man, I'm sure you guys will hear this and whatever, man, but everything that y'all been through, man, that's pretty cool. That
Man.
she's just, she hasn't even asked you.
no,
Yep.
well, I don't think she has to. I think I
No. Of
It
course.
goes without being said.
She knows you
Without
need
being
your
said.
victory lap.
Right. No.
But yeah, so
We've been
now
on
it's
a,
just the recovery.
so everybody, if they're wondering what our hiatus was, right? It's injury
Injury,
and just
Yes.
life.
holidays, life,
Football was the
and now
fall.
baseball.
Baseball's jumping into it with 2 high school baseball
Football, yeah,
players.
you're busy football.
Yeah,
You're busy baseball. Baseball and softball are what's
Yeah.
busy for me,
it's insane.
which is a year-round event anyway. You know that.
Oh, all
It
too
is.
well.
Kyler, good Lord. And his traveling to play, too.
Yeah.
Like, he would travel Alabama, Florida, all of Georgia,
Yes,
all
sir.
over.
Yep.
Yep. Parts of Texas. Tell you what, though, man. I reflect back now, and there are some things that we would have changed, but, you know, the journey was pretty awesome. And I tell you, you guys enjoy it while you can, because right now we're empty nesters, and we're loving it. I won't say I don't miss the baseball and the travel ball, but man, we're in a new season now where there's a peacefulness about this, where I'm really getting to date my wife again. And
Oh,
it's just
that's awesome.
like,
We do have to rewind. What would you change?
here's what I would change. So with select ball, and this is coming from the spiritual side of me, which I've recently learned, and not just the earthly dad that y'all know, is because of the environment that's created for me. I'm the superstar. I'm the kid that does it all, or whatever. Have it be a little bit more humbling, and have him that we would show up to church and serve more.
Okay.
Because at the end of all of this and his journey, he chose not to play baseball, which is totally his choice. Let's be honest, though, right? It is a small fraction of a percentage of people who actually make it and go to the next level and are successful and want to play.
And that next level is just college, not
Yes.
beyond that.
Oh yeah, no. He's not.
Yeah.
And as good as my son was,
Right.
we had no what is that? Illusions of grandeur that he was going to make it beyond that. We were happy because of the discipline that baseball and football provided for him,
Right.
because he was one of those kids that just needed a little bit more. When I say needed a little bit more, He wasn't a self-starter, but the discipline that he put into those games and the positions that he played, we saw the man coming out in him. Therefore, we embraced it.
Right.
But reflecting back now, T and I would have gone to church more and served more with him and not be so intent on the select ball, because it was really good celebrating our kid and putting him up on a pedestal. And reality be told, when I reflect back now, how's that going to make me a better person? It centers everything on me. We want to be more kingdom-minded and center everything more about him. But there's also a balance that we never, ever reach when we're that age, because decisions are made for us, environments created for us. Not until we actually leave the nest and go out there on our own that we can appreciate becoming a true man.
Yeah.
And being kingdom-minded as well. Anyway, that's what I would change. That's what we would change.
I asked that question because we kind of struggle in that area too, but twofold. Like, we try and get both of them, like Harper's on the leadership team with youth. Gray, we try and get him every Sunday that we can, every youth event that we can. Even if it's not our youth, they also have Young Life. Getting him over to Young Life on Thursday or whatever night that they do it. Yeah. And we try to push them to the church as much as possible.
Yes.
While letting them play their travel sports. But one thing that I've found is that being a parent in travel sports, that is a huge opportunity to spread the word to people that don't know it. Like, we have had that opportunity so many times with families that you're constantly traveling with and setting the example with. Like, with him, whenever he was playing with Phenom, we would travel all in the state, and be in hotels overnight. Yeah. And most of the dads will stay up until 2 o'clock in the morning to wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning to get their kid to the game on time, but they would stay up till 2 drinking, and hanging out at the bar, or we used to just go out in the parking lot. We used to just go out in the parking lot and, they would drink and we would play cornhole. And I was like, okay, I have the option of either going and secluding myself in the room and not partaking in this, or I can go out there and show them, hey, you can still have a good time without drinking all that alcohol. Right. And look at the difference between you and I that next morning whenever we wake up at 6.
Man, that's good.
And it has created conversations down the road where some families have run into difficulties, and the people that they go to are Casey and I.
That's right.
And they're like, hey, like, we're dealing with this, and we know that you two are different,
Amen.
Not better, different. So I'm agreeing with I'm agreeing with Jason on this one. Jason, you're not here, but I'm agreeing with you.
Different.
I mean, they literally use those words. Y'all are different.
Yeah, like, in a good way.
In a good way. No,
absolutely.
Well, they're coming to us because of that, and they're seeking counsel through us because of whatever they're going through, and they know, or they see Casey and I's relationship and the way that we work together, and it's created so many opportunities to
all of it.
Be that example and to witness to them, to give them testimonies, to tell them why we're different, and to talk about God, to talk about Jesus, to talk about, the gospel and different things. And that's a flip side that I think some people don't see sometimes with these travel sports. That yes, there are times that your kid's not going to be on church on Sunday, because they've got a tournament. But as long as you're living it in your home and you're trying to get them to every event that they can, I think it can work out.
The foundation is there.
Yeah.
Like I said, that's my personal feelings and how I would do it again. Man, I'm gonna give it to Jeff and see what his thoughts are too.
So
you know.
I don't disagree with your
no,
thoughts.
I get it. Yeah.
There has to be a happy medium.
Yeah.
There, it can't be heavy on one side or the other.
No.
Because if you don't let your kids go and do fun things, they're going to resent you. And I don't want to force feed my kids something because they're going to grow to hate it, and it's something that I don't want them to hate. Right. But I want them to know that it's important, and it's important to the point that if you're going to miss here, you're going to go here, here, and here.
Yeah.
You know, and at home, you're getting it 24/7 while we're at home.
The consistency and the foundation is there.
Right.
Absolutely.
So like I take a whole different perspective. I played baseball my whole life. Everybody knows my story, stuff like that. But and Kai was in select ball. He always did well. He was, he's small for his age because we didn't hold our kids back living in Illinois when I grew up. But at the same time, he's finally grown into himself. Set for varsity baseball this year. Now he actually moved into homeschooling, so he's playing for a travel team,
right?
Because he still wants to play.
That's
and
so
stuff
good
going on. But it was always the thing for us, like especially in the last couple of years with high school. It's like, are we going to vacation as a family over the summer, or are you going to play select ball? So that was the choice. And at first, like when he was young, he wanted to play select ball and push himself for it. And I said, okay, select ball to me is like an investment. If you want to go into this and you want to work hard enough and show me that you're putting in the effort, then I'm going to invest. But if you're not, it's a bad investment, right? So
you're teaching them life skills.
Kind of at that same time. So like one point we were with a hitting coach and we're paying for lessons. And I'm like, if you're doing the swings and you're doing what the hitting coach is asking you after the practices, we'll continue this.
Yeah.
Well, then it slowed down.
Yep.
And we stopped paying for hitting coaches.
Yep.
And then when it got to select ball, it's like, all right, this is what this cost. Would you rather go to skiing over the winter time with your parents, or do you want to play select ball in the summertime? And he's like, let's go skiing. And now it's gotten to the point too where he's like, you know what though? I'm enjoying the instances I've had with you guys. And we've become a pretty tight-knit family because of those times we were traveling together in travel ball too.
So good.
But what I've seen from him is him growing up, where now as a junior in high school, he's like, I could commit to doing that.
Yeah.
But I actually want to develop a brand. I want to start drop shipping. I want to start this business and this business and this business.
So good.
And he has like little business plans coming together. And I'm like, if that's how your mind is operating, go for it.
Boom.
Because here's the biggest deal I have with select sports. Coaching, one, if you're on a top tier team, you could find good coaches. But if you get to the mid-levels, like where it's pay to play, and different basics, like a AA team here, minors in different areas, and they call it a bunch of different things, sometimes you're just getting stuck with a coach to play along the game or further along. Maybe something your mom and dad want compared to what the kid really wants. And sometimes those kids are in it for the joy, and they're meant to be in it. But it's like where you really got to analyze yourself and be like, am I doing this for myself or am I doing this for him? Because I have joy watching them play.
Oh, absolutely.
We all do. Absolutely.
Right? So it's like, okay, where's that joy become a burden, right? And where does it actually become a negative influence on what they're trying to become? Like if it's something they want to chase and go after, heck yeah, man, I'm in. I'm going to invest in it and go. But if it's something you think is just a hobby for fun and it's going to take away from the other things you want in your life, then let's reevaluate and go down that road too, because I don't need to live vicariously through you playing college ball either. I don't. And we've been down those roads before in our lives, and I'm like, it's a lot of work. So it's like, what do you want to work for? But the best thing I could say, especially even with select ball or any team aspect that kids get into, is just learning how to work with people. It teaches them life lessons nobody gets. And I'm not going to knock on people that don't play sports, but I pushed my kids towards sports because I felt that social interaction,
life lessons throughout it,
like teamwork, building, like conversation skills,
conversation skills
building
are huge.
skills, working as a unit, all together in different things, and problem solving, like you said. I mean, it doesn't matter what kind of sport. I mean, it could be chess, for instance. You're sitting there and you're still having to think through a process and really do problem solving in real time. And it's just getting kids engaged. And, as a company, like what I do in life and work for, the company I work for, we've done reports based on kids that are engaged versus kids that are not, and where they end up and where they go. And I don't need to go into the statistics, but you're not going to find kids that drop out if they're engaged. You're not going to find kids that are typically on the other end of it if they're engaged. True. It's like the same thing we talked about in the past with like fatherless homes and stuff like that.
Right.
So, I'm indifferent when it comes to it. Do I think it's a necessity if you want to play college ball? I don't necessarily think it is a necessity, but I also come from a different era where it wasn't a necessity. But at the end of the day, too, it's like, what do you want to do to work to the goal that you have?
Well, the crazy thing is now kids aren't getting recruited by colleges through their high school teams. They're getting recruited through college by their travel ball teams and Twitter, and it's self-initiated by them going out, picking the schools and the coaches and tagging them in the order that they want to go to that school on highlights of what they've done through a season. But to what you were saying, like, we cut the umbilical cord a few years back with Gray, and now we've done it with Harper on the communication side of it, where it's like, I'm not talking to your coaches.
Yeah.
If you need to have a conversation about something, go and talk to your coach. Learn how to have that face-to-face conversation with somebody, even if it's an emotional topic. Because the first time that you have that conversation, your eyes might well up and you might start crying, but as you have more of those conversations, you're going to learn how to control your emotions, get your point across, or the question that you want to ask in a adult conversation fashion. And I've seen both of ours progress that way.
Yeah.
And just being able to have those conversations, like, okay, if you don't think you can make it to practice today, I'm not letting your coach know. You need to get on your phone and let your coaches know, number one, why, so you need to give them the reason that you're not going to show up to your practice, and you need to communicate back and forth.
Right.
And if there's a
don't
problem,
blame it on me.
No, and if there's a problem or if something happens during a game, number one, you need to wait. You don't go up and have that conversation with your coach while the game's going on. If it's really important and you're in a tournament, maybe you can wait in between games and say, hey, coach, can I talk with you, and have that conversation, or give yourself 24 hours to cool down. Think about what you're upset about or whatever the issue is, and then with a cool head and a cool mind, go and have that conversation with your coach.
Personal responsibility. Like,
it's huge. It's huge.
Kai, at one point, was a starting shortstop on a team and got benched in the middle of a tournament in a game, and he's like, well, what's going on? And the coach was freaking out, and he goes, why? And he's like, you're not catching the signs. You don't see any of the signs that I'm giving you. I mean, this is a 12-year-old kid, and I'm like, man, that's a heavy price to pay for a 12-year-old kid, but at the same time, it's a life lesson. Like, you're in it, what are you in it for? And if you're in it for joy and just fun, like, there's plenty of teams that could do that for you. And that's it, and you got to figure that out. And
but that's also, you need to realize at that
it's
point,
a life lesson
that it's also a team sport.
Right.
So if you're doing something that is impeding the team from playing better,
correct,
and your coach pulls you because of it, you can't be so self-centered to get upset about it, and you need to realize coach made that decision because it was the best move for the team. Maybe not for me as an individual, but I'm not an individual in this. I'm a part of a team. And then now you go back and you rework and you go, I got to quit staring at the clouds and look at coach when he's giving these signs, so I'm doing the right thing.
Correct.
So,
and that's the best thing too. It's like, and that's where I get back on the high horse of, like, sports are great because you have to set pride aside in a team sport. Like when you're playing in a unit like football, like our boy, like your boy playing in state semifinal games and putting his heart out on the field, man. And as parents, we love seeing that. Like it's like the gridiron dream for us to see it. But it's like, if I'm not doing my piece on that defense, it crumbles. We break down and we give it up. And when they're laying their hearts on the line there, and they're learning those life lessons, they're developing the skills that they need to go forward.
Here's what I hear both of you saying, and I love this, right? First and foremost, it's like, please, audience, don't get this wrong. Like, if your kid is not playing sports, it's against that. Not one bit at all. It's whatever your kids decide to put effort into. So here's what I'm saying, hearing from both of you. It's taking on personal responsibility through life lessons taught when you are around in a team setting, regardless of what it is. Ours just happened to be that our boys are playing, our boys and daughters are playing, baseball, softball, you name it. And just the development alone to be able to tell them at the end of the day, hey, as your dad, I can't coach you, but here's what I see, and if you ask it in a question, did you understand why coach pulled you from that position? And if he says no, we can interject and go, it's because you weren't paying attention to what he was saying to you in between when you were in the dugout. And that's a straight reflection of your attitude and your posture. And again, as you said, if it's going to be to the detriment of the whole team, his job is not to single any one person out, whether to lift them up or to yell at them. Well, yes, to yell at them. But it is to make sure that they realize that everything that each and every teammate does affects the outcome of that entire game, the task at hand, the tournament, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
There's no better life skills in the immediate that our kids have been around but that.
Yeah. Right. I just had to what you're saying, I just had that conversation with Harper because for the entire fall season, she was starting second base and she killed it. Like she did a great job. Well, now we've started the spring season. First tournament, she's in right field. And she was like, what did I do to lose my spot at second? And I said, well, that's a conversation you're going to have with your coach. But from the outside looking in, I think you're more valuable as a player in right field. Number one, in that tournament, you hosed a girl at home from right field.
That's a serious arm.
You threw a girl out at first from right field.
That's a serious arm.
You are one of the fastest girls on the team. You know your angles. You know how to track a ball. And you catch everything that comes near you. I was like, now you're great at second base. But guess
your boy
what?
In center field.
Brookie is great at second base too. And she's not as solid in right field as you are. So because she's got the capability at second, her arm's not as good as yours. But her arm is more than good enough at second base.
Yeah.
I bet you that's why you're in right field. So she got real emotional about it. And I said, look, you need to go and have that conversation. She was like, but I'm going to cry. And I was like, that's the point.
So you have
to go and have that conversation. So once she went and had that conversation, now mind you, that conversation was, so that tournament was, I think it was a Sunday only tournament. And she had that conversation Wednesday at their first practice. Yeah. So she had time, and after practice was over, she was like, Coach Jess, can I talk to you? She was like, yeah, let's go talk. So she asked her, why am I not starting at second like I was in the fall? And she goes, oh, that's easy. She goes, it's because you're more valuable for this team.
Look at that.
In right field.
And so it's funny because a coach just did the same thing with Kai. You said he's a good center fielder.
Yeah,
he is.
Awesome.
So first game out, he starts him at shortstop. He hasn't played shortstop since he was 12.
Yeah.
Right.
And he comes up to me and
he's got a lot bigger too.
He has, and he's got an arm and a half now. And the coach goes, you know what though? This guy coaches JUCO, another guy that works with the team. He goes, we know Kai is a great center fielder, and we want to make him more appealing to other people by putting him in different positions.
In the long run.
And he goes, the kid could play any position.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you want.
So we want him to develop those thinking skills through the middle infield, and then actually translate when we're playing the teams that we need him in center field. We'll move him out there.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, and I'm like,
Utility guy, man.
Okay. Just whatever. And Kai doesn't care. He likes to play everything.
He just wants to
play. He was a catcher as a kid, you know, so
he just wants to
play. The smallest catcher in America, but he was there. But that's the thing. It's like, it's developing her too. Moving from second to right field gives you a different perspective. And how much of this ties into the gospel? Ties into purpose, ties into like what we learn through it.
Versus selfishness.
Right. I mean, pride, you know, I mean, we're talking through even the instances where we could speak into people and parents and different people that were around because they don't necessarily know the gospel of truth, but the gospel of truth is in every single thing these kids are doing out there.
Right.
And position is part of it, authority, everything. And it's like a biblical lesson all packed into an activity. And that's where I was saying it isn't sports that's the necessary activity. It's an activity.
Right.
And it's like we've talked about it before, you know, I've said it my whole life. I'm a guy that's good at a lot of things, but I never picked the thing to be great at. And when you figure out that thing to be great at and you really try to be great at it, that's where it comes from. And it's like, that's purpose, right? And that's walking into what God's purpose is for our lives.
It's almost like we were made for a purpose.
I'll add one more element to it. When you said to her, hey, you had a conversation one-on-one with her.
Yeah.
It's teaching her many things right now. Right. Number one, respect your dad, right? Even though this isn't his game, he has the authority to speak into you, which he's doing lovingly and respectfully. Number two, you're teaching her that the man she will eventually marry has to be equal to or better than what you are, right?
That's good.
It's true.
And that she follows protocol and authority. The coach is the authority. You're still an authority. Our Heavenly Father. And also, what you're saying too, man, it's just that same thing. The purposes are there. And we get to do this with our kids.
Yeah.
And it's up to us not only to recognize it, put it into action and use it the right way.
We were just having this conversation the other day of like how different our kids are, how much better, right? They are compared to the things we acted like fools with our whole life just because of the exposure we had. And well, we didn't have a constant tag following us around, a video camera that was strapped to our legs. Oh yeah, man. None of us would be here. We'd all be in jail. We all know the story, so it's all good.
Well, we didn't have the fear.
No.
It was like, once I walk out that door, nobody knows what I'm doing. And now it's like, I go, okay. I look up and I go, hey, text message to Gray, dude, slow down, you know, because I can see that he's doing 10 miles over the speed limit.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if I had that when I was a kid.
Well, and that's where our kids are even in a space like where they go to College Station and they have the event Breakaway every Tuesday night. It's 8 to 10,000 kids that gather to worship Christ and hear a message.
Where is that?
In College Station.
Okay,
in the stadium.
So awesome. Yeah.
The heart for Christ that we even see in our own church with the young adults. If Cood was here, I'd be throwing big shout outs to him right now. The heart for Christ in that 18 to 24-year-old generation right now, Gen Zers or whatever they're called. I don't know.
It's amazing.
Something like that.
What we're
watching. At the end of the alphabet.
It's insane. It's insane how much they're striving for something different and better, and they have this heart that
glad you brought that up.
Dude, man, it's amazing. Like
he's got it on the
that's Texas A&M right there.
Wow, yeah.
And this isn't just an A&M thing though. This is all over the nation. This is a movement of kids
big films
that are looking for something that even their parents can't provide them,
right?
Because they know they're like. This is where, like, you know, we could talking about the failures of our family and stuff like that. Still respect the heck out of my dad. And we had a lot of things going on in life that were different. But these are people that are, like, seeking something.
Truly
and
seeking,
kids
too.
That it's amazing just seeing the movement.
You've seen it abundantly lately in college sports.
Yeah.
When they interview
The
head
speaking.
coaches,
Yes.
players,
Yeah.
they are unashamed, unapologetic, and the first thing that they do is, look, this has nothing to do with me.
Again.
This has everything to do with my Lord and Savior,
Right.
Jesus Christ. If it weren't for him, I wouldn't be here. He's the one that's given me this talent.
Yeah.
It's the only reason that I'm out here. And now that I'm sitting here, I have the opportunity to tell you about him. And you see that you saw it in the national championship game in football.
Yes.
You saw it with UT players in their bowl game. You saw it all over college football. Boise State,
Remember
Notre
back
Dame.
when? Let me stop you real quick. Remember back when too?
Tebow.
Well, what I'm getting at is yes,
I was
Tebow
gonna
for
say,
sure.
because they wouldn't show.
That's the point I'm trying to make. Is that the censorship on a lot of that because of
But it's become so much more abundant, they can't even censor it.
Yep.
that's it. But the
That's the
fear,
best.
I believe it was the
Yeah.
fear of losing personnel or viewers,
Right.
because they didn't want to go that route.
Yeah.
Continue. I just wanted to interject.
No, it's blown me away over the past year and a half, 2 years with how many young men and leaders of young men have been stepping up in front of that mic
We
on
need it.
national TV
We need it.
and talking
What do you
about
think caused that?
do what?
What do you think caused that
That's
in the
a
last
great
couple of
question.
I mean, I think we got something going
One.
on, man.
It started
I
with
think-
one.
Oh,
It started with one.
Carson Wentz.
No, it's just it's the whole concept of one. It's Christ, right? And it's we talked about it like a few minutes ago, talking about how spiritually built an activity is and how much it lines up with purpose, and it lines up with pride and selfishness and dealing with life lessons and all the things that the Bible, the book, is teaching us. And it's just when you have so much truth surrounding you, if your eyes are wide open, sometime you'll see it.
Right.
And I think these kids, because their exposure is infinite compared to ours.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
They don't
overload.
They
actually.
have somebody always looking over their shoulder, like a Holy Spirit that's sitting there saying, you do this, man. It's going to be out there. And somebody's feelings are going to be hurt. You're never going to get a job. You're never going to do anything because it's on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, whatever.
It's out there.
What other I don't know.
TikTok.
YouTube, tickety tockety,
Yeah.
all the stuff.
TikTok.
And it literally has become a Holy Spirit to this generation in a way where it's like, okay, what kind of exposure do you want? Because if you're an influencer, and it's funny because you get into the things like Mr. Beast and like all these different influencers that are out there, they're actually doing good. I mean, they're not always to a biblical standard, but the kids are chasing it. Like Darman. Do you kids watch Darman or anything like that?
I don't even know what that is.
Like it's always giving a story of how to work through a social situation to get to the positive outcome of it.
Wow.
And it's like, but these kids are addicted to these YouTube videos that are based on like positive social interaction, but it's all centered around the idea of Christ. Like you could completely associate it with the love of Christ in the world and how that works through the world. And I'm going off on a tangent, but everything, like it's like God wants it so simple, but we complicate everything.
We do.
Right? I've always talked about
I
the
agree
KISS
with that.
technique of life. Keep it simple, stupid. But it's here it is. It's in your work. It's in your games. It's in your activities. It's in your social life. It's in everything.
Yeah.
I built this structure for you to love people, to use that and grow in me.
Yeah.
Because you're blessing my kingdom, his kingdom, not ours,
Yeah. You're.
by expanding it
Yeah.
and loving people well. That's it.
And it is as simple.
I was just going to say, James, see if they have a clip of him explaining his faith on the Sean Ryan show. You might have to.
I'm in the middle of watching that when it came out yesterday.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
might have to type it in, but it's probably
Tell us a little bit about it, man. I didn't see it yet.
so. For those that don't know, Sean Ryan is a ex-Navy SEAL that has a phenomenal podcast right now. He started off by just having former operators on and talking to them about, he basically does a life story with them and talks about things. Well, he just had Jared Hudson on, who is a former Navy SEAL that now has a nonprofit where they actually go in and rescue young children that are caught in human trafficking. Wow. When he gets on to Sean Ryan, he goes off. Because he says something about, because Sean Ryan does an intro and he was like, and of all of these things that you've done, he goes, you're probably most proud of your faith as a Christian and this and that. And he's like, absolutely 100%. He goes, I'm an evangelical Christian. And Sean Ryan goes back and says, well, okay, born again Christian. And he's like, Sean Ryan's like, well, explain that to me. What do you mean by evangelical and what do you mean by born again? Now, Sean Ryan himself is a Christian. And I don't know if he's prompting him to explain to the audience what he means or if he's truly asking him. But he gives one of the best explanations I have ever heard about his faith.
Wow.
And if we can get a clip of it.
One, I am a born-again believer in the person of Jesus Christ. I am a Christian.
There's a time
You've had
stamp.
Christians on this show. You've had guys that, might not be Christians, but they at least have faith and belief. To be one with Him and live life eternally, and that's what I believe. That's
So
what
good how he breaks it down.
Hopefully, I haven't done it a disservice with what I just said. People smarter than me could probably say it better, but
Like, that is how you start off a podcast.
Yeah.
Like, that's the first part of that podcast. Like, they
that
have
was
not
20
even
minutes
gotten
in.
into his introduction.
No, that was
Like,
8 minutes in. Yeah.
That's nuts.
That was eight
But-
minutes to 22 minutes.
But it's
Oh,
even
sorry, that's right after the introduction.
That's
it's
a model
even
for
to the
us.
point-
Oh,
it's
come
even to the
on.
point that the argument this day is a guy's theory who on his deathbed accepted Christ, Darwin. And now people still are arguing the theory of evolution like it's written in stone. I mean, and then the Big Bang. If there's no God, how did it bang? Right? Who started it?
That was let there be light.
Right?
That was
Right.
God.
And then
So it's like, come on, man.
with a
I
bang,
don't
there
understand
was
why
light.
people can't wrap their mind around that.
Yeah.
But they're still, they're still fighting that theory. And it's funny because I actually heard a scientist talk about it. He goes, think about this. You're talking about atoms colliding and microorganisms coming together and growing. Where did they come from?
Right.
That was his simple answer. Where did you say there was a bang? How did the bang start?
I look at it this way. Science backs up creation.
Oh, for sure.
I mean,
Well, they say in order to be an atheist, you have to believe in a miracle.
Right. Right.
I mean, how does nothing come from nothing?
But then
Miracle,
also,
right?
too, and I'm, not to knock on other people, but agnostic means you just don't care,
Right. Yeah, you're indifferent. Yep.
So, and I like the way you put it. It's like we were born with free will, and it's either to believe in a God who loves us or to believe in ourselves.
to rebel against.
Right. and when you see this success in sports, when you see these kids growing and glorifying God on the playing field, even on the gridiron,
So good.
and the things that's going, they're starting to recognize that if I'm working for myself, what happens to my team? I mean, we could break this down, and I probably will offend people in a big way right now, but who are guys that don't win championships? Selfish players.
Yeah.
I mean, they could try and build as many super teams as they want, but they can never get as many rings as the guy that makes his other teammates better,
That's good.
right? I mean, Michael Jordan was the epitome of turning that team into something better. He'd invite guys into a summer league to play with them, to study their skills. He would feed that into the guys that were around him. He wouldn't try and pull everybody in with as much money as
Tom
possible.
Brady did.
Right? Yeah. It's how do we do this to make our team better? It's our kids, and that's the lesson they're learning. And I think that's why this generation has swung into something different and better, is because they're seeking that. Like, we weren't taught to seek it because we didn't have ties over our shoulder directing us. We kind of self-directed. And that's where, you know, some of our struggles came in, but some of those struggles and experiences have led us to be better parents.
True that.
Right? And better stewards to our kids and our families, because there was an important thing he said in there too, is the order, right? God first, Jesus Christ as my Savior, our family.
Yeah.
That's the next thing in the order. And we all...
And he puts it in the right order too, because he names his
that.
wife and then his kids.
Right.
And I think that that's something that a lot of parents, that's kind of where you see that divide, and where you come to where you and T are at right now, where you become an empty nester. And because for so long you put your kids first,
Right.
that now that you're an empty nester, you don't even know who that other person is. And it was awesome that you said, now you get to date your wife again.
Oh,
Yeah.
Like, I can't wait until I can do that again, right?
Yes.
And I think that you do have to focus on, you have to put your wife first, or vice versa. The wife has to put the husband first and then the kids.
Remember this simple thing too. Marriage is a covenant relationship. Kids are not a covenant relationship.
Right. And I think it's huge because I think that is a lot of marriages crumble and fall apart when they become empty nesters, because for so many years
Identities are
They don't
lost.
know
they were so
don't
wrapped
know each
up
other.
in their kids' lives and not their own relationship that they end up being roommates.
Right. And we know, like, and I think everybody at this table has a joy for learning, right? Like,
Yes.
we're constant lifelong learners, and we're going to continue to grow. And I'm going to read the Bible in 62 different ways, because it teaches me something different every time I open the pages. But like, we work in marriage ministry even through our church now, because we know that if we stop, we're not learning our wives. You know, and so some of us, like myself, needs forced interaction, like to be in charge of marriage ministry in some ways, because it needs to remind me to communicate. It needs me to remind me to ask questions, to really care about those things.
That's good.
You know, the physical intimacy part of what we enjoy in life is, we like the physical interaction, and we think we need to fix everything.
Right.
Where their emotional intimacy is so different compared to us, and it's understanding those differences through just continually hearing people speak through a relationship with Christ.
It's that spiritual connection.
But everything you do has one concept and principle that's the same, and it's all biblical.
Yes.
Team sports, marriage,
Yes.
social. I mean, I said this already, but
Our relationship with Him.
You're better at work if you're not putting yourself first. You're not sitting in the center, and you're putting the order before your work. So God, then family, then your job.
Yeah.
Right? And it clarifies things. It sets you free too.
Yeah.
So
That's good.
I know we got off on tangents today, but
No, it's a good one.
yeah.
I mean,
It all went together to me.
Casey and I always
did for 'em.
joke that I got gaps and she got gaps, and together we ain't got no gaps, you know? So
I think I've heard you say that before.
I think from the original Rocky. I never quote it right, but I think he says
It
something
is.
along
Yeah,
the
he's
lines
talking about Adrian.
but he says she got holes and I got holes.
Yeah.
together
Yeah.
we ain't got no holes. And I was like,
Yeah.
that doesn't sound right. I'm gonna change that to gaps. But
James will find that
Makes
clip
sense.
for our
He will.
video post, right, James? You got that?
It's good
Yep.
like that.
The
yeah.
Pod Father.
Together we got no
Pod
holes.
Father.
yeah,
We missed you all, guys. We're back. You know, we get back at some of these conversations, and you know, just God's moving, and you know, John, we know He's
Agree.
moving in your life.
Well, I'll tell you this much: the last Sunday, like, man, I felt like the whole time he was preaching to me whenever he was
Right.
talking about purpose versus assignment,
Right.
and that our purpose never changes, but our assignment will continually
I'm glad
change.
you just mentioned that.
Yeah.
Go ahead and finish what you're saying.
I just I was like glued sitting there, like I was the only one in the room. Like he kept turning and looking at me and talking to me.
Yep.
And for those that don't know, the reason that it was hitting home for me is because I was in a position at that time where I'm at the end of one career and potentially starting a new career with the job offer, and it's a very nerve-wracking and scary, change in seasons, change in careers, to go from something that you've known for, including the military and law enforcement, 25 plus years of doing the same thing, to try and take that step out and go, like, there's no driving force for me to leave the department. Where I'm at, I'm happy. I'm in a good unit.
Comfort zone.
I'm having fun with what I'm doing. I'm still going to make more money as I go. We just signed a great contract. I mean, yes, there are a ton of negatives in law enforcement right now, but there was no driving force to push me out. As a matter of fact, I hadn't even reached my full 23 years yet. And then this job offer came that was not directly sought by me, but it was a phone call, and it was a phone call from a friend who's a strong Christian man who would be the person that I would be working for. And it was a lot of praying, a lot of reaching out to my friends and our friend groups and asking, hey guys, like, this is what I'm going through. This is what I'm dealing with. Guys, just put me on that list and start praying for me.
Ask
that
your brothers
I've got
for prayers.
Yes, that
it's real.
That I've got some clarity in this. And my prayer was, just make it obvious to me.
Right.
And everybody that I ran into kind of said the same thing, and it was the same thing that I was hearing whenever I would pray, and it was that I'm not going to close a door without opening another one.
Right.
And the fact that this door hadn't closed and I wasn't being pushed out of it, but this unsought after phone call came with a job offer, it was like, man, and everything ended up working out right. And earlier this week, I turned in my retirement papers, and that sermon on purpose versus assignment was just like another nudge of God saying, hey, you know what your purpose is. It doesn't matter what job you're doing. It doesn't matter what career you're in. Your purpose is to glorify me. So if you can 100%. Glorify me in the military, you can glorify me in law enforcement, then whatever this next career is, you can glorify me there too.
Right.
And it just gave me a lot of ease. And as soon as I clicked that button to send the email on my notice of separation and final paycheck is what that email was that I sent out, it was like a weight was lifted off of me. And that nerve-wracking feeling, that scared feeling was gone, and it turned into a joyful, excited, I can't wait to see what this, job is going to lead me to, or what opportunities it's going to give me.
Affirmation.
So, that purpose versus assignment was huge.
So I'm glad you mentioned that. I'll give you your chance here. But when we were talking about just now, you said that we talk about empty nesters, and that, yes, I do get that opportunity, this awesome opportunity God gave me to date my wife again, because I'm in that season. And what I wanted to mention was that, and I learned this from our pastors and his sermon, our lead pastor's sermon this past Sunday. The acronym was IPA, right? So what is our identity? Our identity is we are children of God. Right. We're sons of God. P, purpose. Everything that we do, our purpose is to honor and to glorify Him. And then our assignments, those are the things that change, right? So for me, where I fell short a lot of the times was my assignment. I made my identity my assignment as a dad, as a hard worker at the job, striving for something that is unattainable. Right. When all along, if I had put the IPA in the correct order as He wanted it to, my assignment would not be muddied up so that I wouldn't jack it up and hurt my family and all this other stuff. Anyway, I just wanted to say that real quickly. Go ahead, Jeff.
No, man, I think you guys have said it all. But in even talking about it, we've talked about it too. And when we got to pray with you about this opportunity, it's like God isn't ever going to just shut a door. He's going to call you on to the next thing. And, I don't even remember the specific words because I was just praying in the moment, and I had a conversation with you, and it was one of those instances. But at the same time, it is like, what are you putting your identity in?
Yeah.
Because that's going to rule you. And
Right.
so much of the like mishaps we even see in the team sport aspect of the different things that we're doing with those couples that were around that are having struggles in their marriage is because they put their identities in their kids.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And once that's taken away, or shortfalls or failures happen there, it causes tension and separation sometimes.
Yeah.
And that's where we're stepping up and like, hey man, there's something better for you.
Yeah.
That is joy. But at the same time, it's hard. Like, people are like, well, if you have a relationship in Christ, you should just be happy all the time. Like, come on, man. It's harder now because I know right from wrong in every situation. And my mind's constantly at a battle because somebody's trying to pull me down. It's like you're treading
truth.
water all the time and the devil's sitting there trying to pull your feet under
Yeah.
and get your head under there so you can't breathe anymore.
Right.
But your ear is up here, and he's lifting you with every breath.
But the funny thing is, the flip side of that too is that discipline gives you ultimate freedom.
Right.
At the same time that it is a struggle, that it's a constant battle, because you are disciplined in your faith, there is a sense of freedom in that it's that unapologetic.
That weight that came off your shoulders.
Yeah, 100%.
Right.
So it's funny how at the same time you do have that struggle side of it, because when you didn't believe in God, the devil had you right where he wanted you. When you start believing in God, the devil's going to start trying to convince you the other way, right? That's whenever he comes at you. But at the same time, when you're disciplined with your faith and you can hear God and you can hear the Holy Spirit speaking to you, there is a sense of freedom that you've never felt before.
In addition to, there's a heart change too,
Right.
because that discipline leads to I have
Absolutely.
a true love for Him and what He wants for me.
Well, it gives you a different motivation, like we talked about intentionality.
Yes.
With men and stuff like that, and trying to build relationships. But
Yes.
there's the famous saying, ignorance is bliss, until you don't know that you were ignorant before, and then you find out you were ignorant, and you're like, holy crap, I missed it all.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem is sometimes people see that when they're 81 years old and on their deathbed, like he was saying, and you blink and you're like, I missed it.
Right.
So it's like, how do we get through the fact that you don't need to have regrets, you just need to have relationship,
That's good.
Mm-hmm.
and that's it.
That's good.
I think that's a good note to wrap up on. So
Yeah.
Yeah.